Can you see? Oh, we are live. Can you see that the broadcasting?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. So hello, we are on Coffee Friends number 14, and today we are joined by Jordan from Montreal. Hi, Jordan.
Hi.
First off, who are you? What do you do? And where are you from?
My name is Jordan Crosthwaite, and I am a partner at Dispatch Coffee in Montreal. My role here is the director of coffee, so I'm in charge of our green buying program. I'm in charge of quality control in our roastery and quality control in all of our cafes. I also manage our training program for our partner cafes as well.
Very cool. Thank you. How's your French?
My French is okay. Yeah, I've been in Montreal for 5 years now, and I'm still learning, but I'm pretty confident now. It's needed.
The telltale sign is when you like start speaking French and people like respond in English, then you're like, oh, they don't think I'm legit.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll ever get there, unfortunately, but yeah, I make the effort.
So you wouldn't do like a full training in French or anything like that?
Probably back and forth, yeah. Some of the more precise and technical language is easier in English, and most of the folks that we work with are bilingual. If it's ever a problem, we have Francophone trainers to help. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I was going to say, tell us one special thing about Montreal scene. Like what sets it apart or what's different about it in comparison to other cities?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think historically, one of the things that's been very interesting about the Montreal scene is that it's been it's had a very robust cafe scene. So over the past 5 years, huge numbers of great cafes have opened in Montreal, more than I can keep track of now. Early on, there was a couple of high quality places doing really good work. And now it's just huge. And I think that's happening everywhere really quickly. I think there's a lot of potential in this city for a really robust coffee scene. And I think it's happening right now. Yeah.
So for yourself as a coffee director, do you get to source coffee direct through like a broker or importer, or do you go to the farms? Do you get a chance to travel much?
No, I don't travel to origin yet. That's something that we're building into our green buying program going forward. Right now, for the coffee sourcing, we work with a few select importers. And we use importing partners really strategically to source from single farms in Central and South America, and then buying select cooperative lots or larger lots from African countries, like through the ECX in Ethiopia. Yeah.
Well, you're strategically placed, because I feel like Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto are like major import cities in Canada. So things always like arrive to you first before any of the other cities.
Yeah, I think with the kind of level of quality that we're working with, most of the importers are based in the United States. So the coffee that I'm buying is mostly coming in through either New Jersey or through California. And I think that would actually probably be the same in Toronto and Vancouver for that kind of upper tier of coffee sourcing. So we don't quite get first dibs, but if coffees are coming from New Jersey, it's not that difficult to coordinate them getting here.
Cool. And like I guess this is a pretty technical question, but when you ship, how is the coffee stored? I don't know if anybody else cares about this, but I care about this. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really good question, because the transportation of coffee is a risky process and has huge impacts on quality. So it would be packed at origin after it's dry milled into hopefully Grain Pro rated plastic bags inside jute sacks. So this is a type of plastic that's made for agricultural products to sort of keep them tasting fresh and stable. They'll get put into shipping containers and put onto boats almost always, and shipped up to one of the 2 warehouses in New Jersey or California. And then we try to get them out of those warehouses as quickly as possible and up here to Montreal. Yeah, the length of time in shipping and the conditions in which the coffee is sitting while it's in transportation can have a really big impact on coffee. So if it's, you know, sitting at a port for 3 weeks under intense heat, the coffee is going to die really quickly.
And so it's not temperature controlled or anything like that in the...
No. There's some folks doing really interesting work around stability and transportation, but that's still like a building process and something that everybody that imports green coffee is dealing with right now.
So how did you get to be coffee director? That sounds, sounds really interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, a very varied role of dealing with, logistics and quality and training and all of that. Yeah. It draws from a lot of knowledge.
So maybe to answer that question, I can tell you a little bit about the history of Dispatch. Dispatch Coffee was started almost 5 years ago now by Chrissy Durchak. And when she started Dispatch, it was a coffee truck. Actually, before that, it was a cold brew delivery on a bike service that she was running. And she quickly invested in a truck that was part of the initial food truck program in Montreal. And she was doing kind of mobile coffee service through that. And she and I had always been friends through the coffee scene in Montreal. And 2 years ago, we kind of met up and proposed this, growth of Dispatch and turning it into a full-fledged coffee company. So we partnered. We also partnered with Christopher Durning, who is our head roaster here. And between the 3 of us as operational partners, we've built out this business to be a couple of cafes, the coffee truck. We have a cold brew business still, and the green coffee and roasting program.
Cool. And before that, you were at Cafe Odessa, I want to say?
Yeah, I've worked at through the various years, different places in Montreal. Before I was with Dispatch, I was helping some friends open Cafe Odessa and managing that space for about a year. Yeah.
Cool. That's really interesting. And so, you pretty much led into my next question about how Dispatch as a model, like the business model, but more so like there's so much to Dispatch. There's roasting now. You started in mobile, and I saw pictures of the truck, and that seemed like that's really cool because I think a lot of people, some start with mobile and then move to a brick and mortar. Some start a brick and mortar and say, hey, we could really grow into mobile catering and things like that. But it's really cute, and I love the look of the truck. Like, you even have a part where people can sit at the back or like on the side, and so I guess what are the parts at this point? You guys have a location or a cafe location at the university?
Yeah, we have a cafe space at McGill University. And then we have a cafe space in a neighborhood called the Mile X. And that's also where the roastery is. So the roastery is in the back space. That's where I am now. And in the front space is kind of our flagship cafe. So it's a space where we designed specifically around showcasing our coffees and inviting people into the production space and trying to literally break down the walls between the kind of sourcing and roasting process and the cafe experience. So I can show you behind me here, you can see the roaster in the back and the open cafe space. And it's really integrated, the roasting space and the cafe. We really want people to feel part of the project that we're doing and make it accessible and open.
Wow, that's really cool. It reminds me a little bit of, is it Four Barrel or somebody in San Francisco? They're all doing the open roasting, but I mean that's really exciting to see. Does the mobile cart make it out much?
Yeah, the cart we have like a little cold brew cart that we take out sometimes in the summer, and that's more just for days when we have a little bit of time and want to do like a lemonade stand with cold brew. But we also have the coffee truck, and that season runs from somewhere in April, May, and then into late September, October, depending on how long or short our winter is that year.
Yeah, the truck is what I meant. And I guess one of my questions was like, oh well, like Montreal seems like a really frigid cold place. Like, is part of starting that cafe was like you can't run the mobile truck the whole winter through, because I suppose you probably might be freezing.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a seasonal kind of project. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that the coffee company was built to sustain the truck, but you know, that was the origins of the project. And then, you know, we've always thought a little bit bigger and wanted to grow this into, you know, a really sustainable coffee company. Yeah.
Cool. So I read something on your website about SCAA cupping and how you guys really kind of want to develop your own palate, or just, I guess, determine what is good instead of having others determine that for you, or say like, oh, well, this is good coffee or that's good coffee. So I guess going on that conversation, I was going to say, are you guys going to be using a little bit of the flavor wheel and all that SCAA like standards as far as sensory and cupping and things like that?
Yeah, you know, I find the new SCAA sensory lexicon a helpful tool. We will use a flavor wheel in training programs and with our baristas when we're hosting the public in our space. You know, as a tool for starting engagement. I think you know, thinking about coffee and tasting coffee goes much beyond that, and there's ways in which you know, those kinds of tools can be limiting, but I do also see them quite helpful. Yeah.
Interesting. And then I saw last year that you guys had hosted, or it's in September, I think you hosted Montreal hosted East Coast Coffee Madness.
Yeah, I mean, that was
and one of our friends, Ben, went out to judge or to take part in the event. Tell us a bit about the event and how it drew Montreal together.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I wasn't involved in organizing the ECCM, and Dispatch was involved as a sponsor. We were really enthusiastic about the event, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. I actually don't know everybody that was involved, but I'm sure you can look them up online, and they did a really good job of bringing together people from all the cafes in Montreal, or a lot of the cafes in Montreal, a lot of the people that are roasting here, and bringing in international guests. And it really felt, you know, that there was finally an expression of the kind of intelligence and talent that there is in Montreal for coffee. And yeah, I was really, really happy to be a part of the event. I met a lot of really interesting people and built a lot of connections that have been really valuable going forward.
What was it like? What's it like to be there? Is it like a one-night event, or was it like throughout the day?
Yeah, it was a single day, and there was different parts. George Howell came up and gave a lecture on coffee quality, which, you know, was really special because obviously he's, you know, a pioneer and just a really interesting person, someone I admire a lot. But beyond that, a couple of local guys did some sensory analysis stuff on coffee tasting. Maxwell from Kelowna Smalls came, or now Kelowna Coffee, came and gave his talk on water, and I think that was really interesting for a lot of folks that hadn't been through that stuff before.
Wow, a lot of big names.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I think especially the Northeast United States and Eastern Canada lacks this kind of central event, and it's also great to have it outside of a competition. There was a little bit of like a Brewers Cup competition, which was fun, but you know, it was, you know, the spirit of the event was collaboration and sharing knowledge. And, you know, I think this speaks to some of the things that we were talking about just before we went on air about building community and bridging connections within the coffee scene in Canada, which, you know, because we're so spread out as a country, it's really hard to have that kind of collaborative spirit. You know, cities are quite isolated. You know, the coffee scene historically has been dominated by a few big players, and that's changing really rapidly. And I know a lot of people that really want to get invested in building out a bigger coffee scene. So I think events like ECCM are the step in the right direction for that.
Fantastic, yeah. I always ask, like, okay, well, you know, barista competitions, yay or nay? Like, do you think that's a thing that builds community, or like, you know, I think some people are more for it than others, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a competitive person. I like competing. You know, I haven't competed that much, but personally, when I've really enjoyed it. and made a
Not
lot
the
of
only way,
great
though.
friends
Okay.
that way. What's that?
I said it's not the only way to
No.
build community or meet people in the industry.
No, of course not. Yeah. But it does,
So
you know, there's the potential for setting standards of professionalism and service. And I think, you know, it is a platform for sharing knowledge.
Right.
So I see it as having a place. Yeah.
For sure. Well, I value that. And where they, I guess, barista competitions stand in our coffee scene.
Yeah.
I started asking in the beginning of the year, what are you drinking right now and what are you reading as far as resources? Give us something to build on for people looking for knowledge, or it doesn't have to be coffee related. Are you and coffee, it doesn't have to be a coffee that you're drinking. Somebody mentioned some kind of beer that they were drinking. So
Sure.
give us what you're drinking.
What I'm reading right now is a book called Sweetness and Power. The author's last name is Mintz, and this is a classic of, pardon me?
I've read that.
Oh yeah, so I'm still working through it, and you know, it's a really kind of brilliant post-colonial interpretation of the effect of the sugar trade on the contemporary world. And I think this has a lot of implications in the coffee world as well. And if we think about coffee as a larger industry, you know, larger than specialty coffee, I mean, and with a very specific history that has, you know, enormous social impact around the world, I think the kinds of questions that we're struggling with right now around supply chain development can be, you know, they can be supplemented by this kind of historical knowledge and critical thinking around those kinds of issues. So I'm really interested in that book right now. In terms of what I'm drinking, I'm really into Riesling right now. I'm really into German Riesling.
Like sweeter ones, flat, like drier
No.
ones? No.
Quite dry German Riesling, yeah.
Is that like a cabinet then, or?
Yeah, cooler climate German Riesling. We'll go with that. Yeah.
Very good. Thanks so much. Our last question is, who's your next nomination for Coffee Friend?
I don't know if he'll be happy about this, but I'd like to nominate Zane Kelsall of Anchored Coffee.
Is Zane from like out east?
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be hilarious. Well, hopefully he says yes.
Yeah. Zane's a dear friend. He's actually in Ethiopia right now, in Harar, sourcing coffees, and I'm extremely jealous.
Fantastic.
He's someone.
I used to work with Zane in Calgary, actually.
Oh wow! Okay.
A brief time.
Yeah.
Zane and Alexis?
Yeah, his wife. Yeah.
Cool.
This is someone who's, you know, an inspiration in the coffee community and like killing it out in Dartmouth and Halifax. So I think he should have a voice in this conversation.
Wow, we just keep getting further and further east.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much. We'll get off air now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.